What is good, YouTube? Hopefully, you're all having a good day. Welcome back to the CW podcast, which I'm going to be doing for the entire season. And for the first episode of this podcast, I'm joined by the DCTVShow and Declan McKinney. Thank you guys for joining this week's podcast.
Thanks for getting us on, Chris. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
Yep, no worries. And we have a lot to talk about today because, boy, the shows are back. Well, they came back last week, but Arrow was back this week, and I wanted to do it when Arrow was back. And that is, of course, the first thing that we're going to be talking about today, the first episode of Arrow Season 8, the final season. And first of all, before we begin anything else, what did you think about this week's episode of Arrow?
Arrow was pretty amazing. This week. I mean, obviously, I need to preface this by saying Arrow is my favourite show of all time.
Yep, mine too.
I have just been shaking in my boots waiting for this season. It's bittersweet, obviously. A new season is always exciting, but this is the final season as well. We've only got 10 weeks left, so... well, 10 weeks episode speaking. So yeah, it's kind of a big deal at the moment, and this episode really, because the way they're kind of describing this season is that it's going to be, kind of like the best of Arrow, and this episode really felt like that, especially in particular season 1.
Yeah.
For me personally, it was just nostalgia. I was being waterboarded with nostalgia, and I'm not complaining about that.
No, not at all.
Yeah, for me, I dropped off of the back half of last season. I just wasn't so into it. But I caught up, and I thought last season was pretty good. Didn't think it was the best though. But then I watched last night's episode earlier today, actually.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I thought it was so good. Like at first, I was like, we're doing season 1. I was confused at the start, and then I saw the Batman thing, and I was like, oh shit, it's Crisis.
We'll get to the
Deagle showed up and stuff. It was great. So I really love this episode, especially for all the callbacks, like you said, the nostalgia, because it was so, it was basically the pilot, but Crisis mode.
Yeah.
I really loved it. Like, it was such a good episode, and I can't wait to watch more this season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I echo both of your statements. Like, for me, I would say that out of all the season premieres that Arrow's ever had, this is definitely my favorite one. It was just everything I loved everything about it. Even the flash forwards, which most people seem to not like. I could tolerate them. I feel like they were okay. Then obviously they're not on the same level as present day stuff, but they were still okay for me. But regardless, the whole episode, it was just so nostalgic. It just took you back all those years. And when we saw Moira, I was just smiling from ear to ear.
I love Moira so much.
Yeah, I love Moira so much, and it just shows you how much the show misses her. Because
absolutely. Yeah. Every time Moira shows up, it always reminds the fans of how good Susanna is.
Yes,
it's always her scenes with Steven, like they just get me.
Yes, they
have such chemistry.
Mm-hmm, they really do. And that final scene where in the later half of the episode where Oliver was hugging Moira, because he's never gonna see her again. He knows because he's leaving that earth. That just really finished me right there. that was very emotional for me, and I love everything about this episode. But one thing I want to talk about in particular was that ending. So before I say what I want to say about that, what did you think of that ending?
I think that it kind of took me by surprise because I wasn't expecting that to happen yet. So early on, I was expecting to see some Earth destruction within some of the shows this season. I did not expect it to be in the first episode of Arrow.
Yeah.
Especially because obviously this episode all took place on Earth 2.
Yeah.
Earth 2, out of all the Earths in the multiverse, except for I guess you could say Earth 38, has been the one that we are the most familiar with.
Exactly.
Like, we've seen so much of Earth 2 throughout the years. We have so many characters that we're very close to from Earth 2.
Exactly.
And just to see it get wiped out just like that, it was insane. Like it's like Thanos just snapped
Yeah.
and it was gone.
Funny you said Thanos. Like it kind of reminded me of the snap.
Like when Renee and Dinah like got killed, they like dusted away, and
yeah,
Moira got dusted away, and Tommy.
And speaking of,
it took me a surprise. It was insane.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. Speaking of what you were saying, about about characters that we're familiar with dying, it literally did not occur to me, but Paige posted a tweet today about the ending that I didn't even realize. He basically mentioned that Jesse Quick and Harry Wells are now dead because, of course, that didn't occur to me until I saw that tweet and I was like, what? That is true. Like Harry Wells, who we've known since season 2 of The Flash, is gone. Or is he? Or did he?
When Earth 2 was this, right?
Yeah.
Well, you carry on. Sorry, I was saying my thing. So.
Oh no, I was gonna say, or they might have taken the route where he wasn't on this Earth at the time, along with Jesse Quick as well.
Jesse's a speedster, so she could have opened a breach and got out.
Yeah, that's true. But speaking of Jesse, interestingly though, remember last year's Elseworld crossover where we see a bunch of dead heroes from the aftermath of an encounter with the Monitor? We see a female hero who kind of resembles Jesse Quick. So is that Jesse Quick of Earth 2?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think the last time they mentioned Jessie, they said she was on Earth 3 training with Jay. So maybe she's still on Earth 3, and it could just so happen that Harry was visiting her, say. I think that's a good way to get out there.
Wasn't that like Jay was training like an apprentice speedster on set?
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure, because Jay retired, I'm pretty sure that Jessie actually became the Flash of the Earth. I'm pretty sure they said something like that.
That does ring a bell, actually. Yeah.
So
probably.
When the ending happens, actually the first thing I thought about was, oh shit, this is Earth 2. What about all these characters? That's the first thing I thought about.
Yeah.
And I love that.
The fact that Avenger Chase was back.
Yeah.
I forgot. Shit, why didn't he survive?
I know. Yeah. Why couldn't we get like that version of Adrian like back for the rest of the season? He's dead now.
Oh yeah. Like I literally missed out Adrian Chase. Like Adrian when he revealed himself to be Adrian Chase, I was like, what? Like they actually brought Adrian Chase back in this episode, and he's the Green Arrow as the Green Arrow. Like it would have, like I would have thought maybe Robert Queen or Tommy was the Green Arrow of Earth 2, or even Robert Queen, because it was alluded to some time ago that Robert Queen was the Green Arrow. So maybe Robert Queen died or retired. I don't know.
Yeah, I saw Mark Guggenheim actually talk about this because someone actually said to him on Twitter, didn't you say like a few seasons ago that Robert Queen was the Green Arrow of Earth 2? And he basically said that just like on Earth 1, there are multiple people who have picked up the mantle of the Green Arrow. So Adrian is just the next one.
That's very true. Okay, so that means, because I know a lot of people were speculating that Adrian was the one on Lian Yu, so that means it wasn't Adrian on Lian Yu, but Robert Queen was on Lian Yu in Earth 2, essentially.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
See, I came up with something. I put it out on Twitter earlier about the Batman mask thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think Adrian, I don't know if he would have been on Lian Yu or not. I mean, there's no kind of hint to that. But Adrian knows Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, he does.
He says that.
Yeah, he does.
And I just kind of came up with the idea in my head that maybe instead of him being stuck on the island with Slade, like Oliver was, he was stuck on the island with Bruce, and then he had to kill him. I don't know. It's just a wacky theory I came up with, but...
maybe.
I don't know. It's just the fact that Adrian knows Bruce Wayne. That kind of... It's kind of crazy.
I'm pretty sure they're hinting at definitely like Bruce was stuck there as well.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I got from it.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. I feel like...
Kevin Conroy, Bruce Wayne in Crisis will be like... Maybe that'll like explain it.
Yeah, I guess so. Maybe. We'll have to wait and see. Okay, speaking of... speaking of Bruce Wayne. So regarding Crisis, in the comics, all the Earths, it just becomes one Earth, essentially, by the end of it. So... And also, along with this, we get the rumors that Titans might be making a cameo in this crossover. So, if that is the case, then how is that going to work regarding which version of these characters are going to be on this one Earth, if that makes sense? Because in Titans, they have their own Bruce Wayne, we know, And
Yeah.
in Batwoman, Bruce Wayne has been missing for what, 5 years. So what, when these Earths do merge together, so what, that's gonna be retconned or what? I don't know.
But the thing is, not all the Earths merge together. Only like a few of them merge together, and most of them are destroyed. So I don't think it's such a big thing that we need to think about, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, I think like especially in regards to something like Titans, I really can't see. Even if Titans do have a cameo in this,
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to
really
be.
brief.
Yeah, it'll be really brief, and it's not going to be anything that will be connected to the universe. Really, it'll just be like a brief thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really see it being a thing. Like Ben says, it's only a few that actually get merged, and the rest get destroyed. I think honestly, the main talking point about the merging of the Earths is Supergirl coming to Earth 1. That's what it'll. That's like the main thing it'll be.
Yeah, I can see that definitely happening. Okay, so we'll agree that the Titans Earth will remain intact.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. And literally, my next topic was about Earth 2 Bruce Wayne, so we've already talked about that. But do you think that Adrian or Robert Queen killed Bruce Wayne on this Earth? Just like Oliver did with Deathstroke on Earth 1 in season 1, or season 2, sorry.
It's possible.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that mask wasn't actually Bruce's. Maybe that was like, you know how the Deathstroke mask got there. It was like another guy. I don't know. Maybe that's where he took up the mantle of Batman. So maybe it wasn't him. Maybe he was the sort of what's the guy that helped
Yao Fei.
Oliver on the island?
Yao Fei. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm dumb. I forgot his name. But anyway, so what happens if he was that version to, say, Robert Queen? Because I'm supposing Robert Queen was the one on the island because Oliver supposedly died on Earth too.
I can see that happening. Yeah, I can see that happening.
I think that's possible.
Yeah, that's very possible. Okay, so let's now move on to the Flash. We'll come back to Arrow in a bit. Now, same question as Arrow. What did you think of this week's episode of the Flash season 6 episode 2? Whoever wants to start first.
You can go
first. Oh, okay, I'll go. I love this episode. This was probably my favorite episode of all the shows so far this season. I was really into it. Apart from the villain, who I thought was just alright, but it teases something really cool with the black hole logo. If you spotted that, Paige pointed out to me on that guy in the photo. But anyway, so apart from that, I loved it. You know, all the Crisis stuff when he goes to Jay Garrick and how it starts the episode sort of dealing with this, and he needs to go to the future to find out about Crisis, and, you know, the introduction of the antimatter, and basically just is a really Crisis-heavy episode. And at the bits where, especially when everyone was dying, I was getting chills. I was like, oh, shit, this is, right from the comics, and it's great, and I loved it.
Yeah, I think this episode in particular, and also Arrow as well this week, they've really, demonstrated the threat we're up against here. Normally, the crossovers are pretty, one and done. There's not really much build-up to them. Seeing all this, Arrow is essentially a road to Crisis, and even Flash to a slightly lesser extent, but seeing all the stuff in this, like you're saying, just seeing Barry go to, or at least attempt to go to the future, and seeing all the different possibilities and different futures, and everyone he knows and loves just getting killed by the antimatter, and just seeing hundreds and billions of Earths getting wiped out. It really demonstrates how serious Crisis is going to be. And I think that's great. And just bringing back Jay, I think Jay was severely missing last season. I love it when Jay shows up, and so to have him here, I think is really cool, especially because he's kind of taken on a different role now, because he's not really a speedster anymore. I like seeing that, and obviously the introduction of his wife as well, who is obviously like Barry's mother, very good. What I love about this is just as well is that I think Eric Wallace is the saving grace of the show, because when he was announced to be the showrunner, I was just excited by the fact that we were getting a new showrunner in general. But I've just seen in these first 2 episodes, he just really gets the characters of the show. He really understands them, and in this you can really see that. Every character in this gets at least one good scene, and has a good role. He really gets Iris in particular. Cecile, he really understands. Joe, he understands. Caitlin and Killer Frost, Cisco, Ralph, every single one of them, he gives their time and their moment, and I think that's just so reflective of how good Eric Wallace is as a showrunner.
Good analysis.
I really agree. Like, especially Iris. Like,
Yeah.
I'm really like I love Iris anyway. Like, I really like her. There was a few like silly moments in the past few seasons with like her jumping off the building, and that was kind of funny. But then I felt like every time I've seen Iris, especially when Iris is with Barry, I've been feeling those moments. Like, I think Iris is really good right now, and I'm not so sure about Cecile. I don't think anyone's ever really got Cecile. Like, I don't really see the point of Cecile, in the story, personally.
Yeah, I agree with
That's
that.
only-
I feel like, she is a bit of a character who, if you took her out, it wouldn't really be that much of a difference. But given the fact that she is there, I think they are doing good work with her.
I think she's
true.
I think she's there to give Joe more of a life. If that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only reason I can see right now. Obviously, she has her DA work, but I don't think her DA work that's interesting. Like, that was probably, like, I didn't really like the villain this episode. I thought she was alright. And, Cecile was linked to that, and it just wasn't too interesting compared to everything going on.
Apparently, the villain's gonna return in episode 6, from what I heard.
For Ultraviolet.
Yup.
Well, didn't they stop her? They knocked her out, didn't they?
I guess
I
I guess she breaks out somehow. I don't know. So yeah, but yeah, I think that this episode was good. I don't know which one I prefer over this episode or last week's episode. I think maybe this week ahead of last week.
I definitely prefer this week.
Yeah, probably this week.
I really liked last week.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. I really liked last week and I really liked this week. But yeah, I'll probably agree with you. This week, by just a small margin. The standout was, of course, the towards the end when Barry saw the depths of billions of worlds. That was just wow. That was mind-boggling. We actually
I
saw,
loved the bit when Iris came up. Like,
yeah, like she just accepted everything. She was just looking, and then she just disappeared.
then when Barry actually died, that was the bit where I got chills. I was like, oh shit, this is like Crisis.
Yeah, straight from the pages of actual Crisis in the comics. Have any of you actually read the comic?
Yeah, I've read it like 3 times. It's my favorite.
3 times.
One of my kind of like biggest vices is that even though I do so much comic book coverage, I haven't actually read that many comics in my life. It's just the way I've grown up. I just have a lot of knowledge without actually reading it. So I haven't, but I'm going to try to.
The problem.
I'm going to try to. I'm going to try to before the crossover happens. I was literally shopping the other day and I was trying to find it, but I couldn't find it. But I've actually recently discovered there's a comic book store in the town that I live in, so I'm gonna go there this weekend, I think.
Declan, let me give you advice here. If you want to read comics, download Comixology and then read comics from there, because they do sales literally every week, and it's much cheaper than going to a comic book store for me.
Oh, cool. Okay, I'll look at that.
It's cheaper.
Yeah, it's cheap.
It's not as cool.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess so. But still, like, if you want to read so many comics, cheaper is the way. And that's my problem right now. I'm spending literally about 40 pounds a week on comics, because I have a problem right now where I'm overspending. So I need to find a way to
cut back, because I used to spend so much. Because since Rebirth, I've been reading The Flash and Supergirl every time they came out.
Yeah.
But then, like, I don't know, like 6 months ago, I was just like, oh shit. Well, I can't really do this for now, but I need to get back on it and try and get that.
Yeah, I need to find a way to slow down, because I'm like I'm saying, I'm spending like £40 a week. But yeah, anyway, that's
What
another.
do you buy?
The thing is, I buy anything. I buy both Marvel, DC, and and other stuff as well, like The Boys and other series like that. I bought Invincible the other day. Have you heard of Invincible?
No, I haven't heard of that.
Like, it's a very popular independent series. So yeah, I bought that. I'm gonna read it somewhere. I don't know where, but at the moment I have like 200 series. I don't know how I'm gonna get through all of them, but I have to find a way. But yeah, anyway, regarding the Flash, I think that this, like I said, this is probably my favorite episode so far out of the two, and I think I think that, of course, Barry's eventually going to die, but he's obviously going to come back because obviously the Flash is not cancelled or ending. So we're going to see Barry come back in the second half of the season. But
Or you think he's actually gonna die or not?
well, when I say die, I mean like everyone will think he's dead, but he's not. But he will come back somehow. I don't know how. What do you think? Do you
I
think?
think what's going to happen is I think he's going to die in the Flash episode of Crisis.
Yeah.
Because obviously that's the last episode before the break, and then like it'll be like a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Barry's dead, and then obviously he'll come back. I mean, it's midway through season 6. They're not going to carry on the Flash without Barry, are they?
Yeah, exactly.
And Wally's not coming back anytime soon.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think? What do you think?
He
Ben?
is, but, you know.
No. I know he is, but I mean, like, he's not.
Yeah,
going
no,
to
but not like a full time. Yeah. I think so. In the comics, Barry actually does die.
Yeah.
He doesn't disappear or anything, right? But I tend to agree with you, Declan. I think it's going to be a cliffhanger. I don't think he's going to die. I think he's going to go missing. I think maybe he'll do the thing when he goes back in time with the Reverse Flash. I don't know how it's going to go down, but I've got a feeling he's not going to die. Obviously, because it's like halfway through the season. I mean, he could temporarily die, then he gets revived, but I think it's more he's going to go missing for a chunk of the next episode, and then he'll come back. That's what I'm thinking right now.
Maybe he does die, but then they do a deal with the devil, if you catch my drift.
I could see that. But nah.
Someone else dies, like Oliver, but he's going to die anyway.
Okay, speaking of what, how do you think Oliver will die? Because we know how Barry might potentially die, but how do you think Oliver will die?
I don't think Oliver's going to die, actually.
No, I don't either.
So what do you think is going to happen to him?
It's obviously leading up to it, but I think it's way too obvious that if Oliver has been teasing he's going to die this whole time, you know, the Monitor saying, oh, you're going to die, he talked about it last episode, I think that he will somehow find a way to survive. And also remember, this is not the last episode of Arrow.
Yeah, because they still got 3 more.
I'm pretty sure there's either 1 or 2 episodes after Crisis.
I think it's 3.
So I'm
2 more.
Will be fine.
Yeah. Okay, so it's a tough one, you know. Like, obviously, I don't want Arrow to die because obviously he's my favorite character in the Arrowverse, but I don't know.
I think as far as the public of Star City and the world is concerned, he will be dead. We've seen the future. We've seen his gravestone. He's not around.
Exactly. Yeah.
But he won't be. But we know he's not dead because at the end of season 7, we saw Felicity go with the Monitor, to go see him. So he's going to be somewhere.
Yeah, Yeah. That's what I mean when I say he's dead. Like, in our reality,
he'll be dead as far as people are concerned.
Yeah.
Like, people will think Oliver Queen is dead, but he'll be somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere that he. Okay, here's
it. Be on Earth.
Yeah. Okay, here's a theory that I think might has some merit to it, but we'll get to that when we talk about it because we haven't covered it yet, but we'll get to it later. So overall, regarding this Flash episode, what would you rate it?
Out of 10?
Yes, out of 10.
Out of 10, what do you think, Declan?
I'd say it's probably a good solid 8, maybe 8.5.
Okay.
I'd probably go higher than that because I really loved it. I'd say just because of the villain, like I would say it's nearly the perfect Flash episode, but because of the villain, I'm going a 9. I really liked the episode a lot.
Yeah, I'll give it a 9 as well. What about we didn't give a rating for Arrow? What about Arrow?
10 out of 10.
Yeah.
I'd say 9 again. Actually, about the same.
Fair. Yeah, I'll give it either a 9.5 or 10. So we got the casting of the Spectre in the last 24 hours, and he will be playing by Stephen Lobo. Is that how you pronounce his name? Yeah. So what do you make of this news? What do you think of Spectre being cast for Crisis? I know... you were going to say something?
So, I don't really know the actor. I know he was in Continuum, the TV show. That's about it. But I am super excited because Spectre is a big thing in Crisis.
Yeah.
In the comics.
Yeah.
And I love Spectre as a character. He's like one of my favorite DC characters. But that being said, I'm a little bit bummed out because I love the Spectre on Constantine. So I was kind of hoping that he might return, but guess not.
Constantine technically part of the Arrowverse, so
Technically, really.
so I haven't. Well, funny enough, I haven't actually watched the Constantine TV show. I saw a bit of the first episode, but I haven't.
So good.
I might check it out eventually, but
I
but
was
yeah.
gonna watch it, and then they took it off Prime, so
Watched it loads of times. It's really good.
Oh, what about you, Declan? What do you think about Spectre coming to Crisis?
well, I literally know nothing about the character. But I mean, see, my thing is just it's crazy the amount of people who are in this thing. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if we're going to talk about it sort of in the next piece of news or whatever, but like, it's got to the point where Lucifer is in this crossover.
Yeah, I've never seen Lucifer before, but okay.
Lucifer is amazing. It's such a good show, and I love Tom Ellis. I've met Tom Ellis. He is so awesome, and like he's in this crossover. So like, there's so many people in this. Now the addition of the Spectre, who, as Ben says, is a big part of Crisis in the comics. Like, there's so much to tackle here. Like, I'm getting worried. Isn't there too much in this now?
That's what I was.
Yeah,
I was thinking. Oh yeah.
You go, Chris. I'll go after.
I was saying, yeah, that's what I was worried about as well. Because we're literally getting news pretty much every day now. Someone else is joining Crisis. Everyone's joining Crisis, and like, are they sacrificing fan service over? Are they sacrificing story over fan service? That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and I get a bit worried about that because it's like, it's obviously fine getting in as many characters who already exist within the Arrowverse in this crossover, but they're bringing in so many additional people.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
even Lucifer, which technically doesn't make sense. I mean, I know Lucifer is technically a DC property because it's Vertigo, but like the crossover could do without him. You know what I mean? As happy as I am to see like Lucifer interact with Oliver Queen, that's like an interaction I never knew I wanted until I saw it. I just don't know if that's necessary. So just all these additional people, and I know I'm not really talking about the Spectre specifically, but it's only because I don't really know anything about the character. I am just getting a bit worried that maybe they are filling the cup too much a little bit, and it's going to start to overflow soon.
Yeah,
it's a little bit worrying because of how many people. But I'm literally flicking through my Crisis thing right now, and there is so many goddamn people in it. There is literally thousands of characters, or like nearing on thousands of characters. So it's obviously very in the vein of the comic book, which is really good. But it is maybe a little bit worrying, like how much are they going to focus on like all these different characters? So I'm hoping, because they do this in Crisis, they sort of have, I don't know, like a roster of about 10 to, I don't know, like 15 main characters, right? So you got the different versions of Superman, you got Wonder Woman, and then you got the main ones, and you got like Pariah and all of that, right? So you have the main ones, and then the other ones are cameos, and I'm hoping a lot of these are just like small cameos where it fills up some scenes, it sort of brings that nostalgia for Crisis. You're like, oh shit, this is right out of the comic books. Oh look, there's this character, these different versions of Superman. I think it's going to be more like that. I'm hoping.
Yeah.
So in the comics, they don't actually like have too much time with all these different characters, although there's so many.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping they focus, obviously on the main people like Supergirl, the Flash, Arrow, Batwoman, and stuff, and then they have like a few like the two Supermen are pretty big, and some other characters. But yeah, I can see why people could worry. I'm a little bit worried, but still at the same time, I'm very optimistic.
Yep, I would agree with that. Okay, so regarding my take on Spectre, I've only read Spectre once in the Kingdom Come storyline. Have any of you heard of Kingdom Come?
I know that's what Brandon Routh's playing.
Yeah, he's playing
I've
Kingdom.
never read it, but I know the outline for it.
Yeah, I read Kingdom Come about a month and a half ago. It's actually a very good story. A bit long, but still very good. The art is brilliant as well. It's nothing like anything you'll see now, but yeah, you should check it out. It's very good. But yeah, he's really the only exposure I've had in terms of the character in that storyline. So I don't really know much about him, but I guess he's a cool addition, I guess. But one theory that I've seen on Twitter, someone on Twitter speculated, what if Oliver quote unquote dies and becomes the Spectre?
That would be really good. I would really like that. I think that would be really interesting, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So if Oliver was to become the Spectre, what would he do?
Well, if yeah, you go.
Basically, he just sort of so in the comics, whoever becomes the Spectre was initially killed, right? And then they become and sort of, they, essentially they become a Spectre as the name says. So they haunt and sort of they follow these people who are, need to be haunted. Essentially, I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain.
That's cool.
It's really cool.
That is quite cool. I don't know. So would the character of the Spectre go on to exist past Crisis? Because obviously, Stephen Amell wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah. So Spectre doesn't always have the face, so he has his hood,
right? Okay.
And so his hood would be able to, hide him if Stephen, say, became him, but didn't want to come back.
Because obviously, I know that Stephen Amell is doing that new wrestling show.
Yeah, which I'm gonna watch because obviously I'm a big wrestling fan.
I'm not a wrestling fan, but I'll watch it just for Stephen.
Yeah.
Same with me.
And also Alexander Ludwig as well is starring opposite him, who is awesome from Vikings. He's also a lovely guy. I've met him as well. Lovely guy. So I'll watch it for both of them.
Cool. Speaking of Spectre, who do you think will be the one to ultimately defeat the Anti-Monitor? Because in the comics, it was actually the Spectre who defeated him. But I don't think that will happen here because he's a very new character. So I feel like the showrunners would want to give the victory blow to a character we've grown to love.
I think it'll be Barry or Oliver. Probably Barry.
I think it will be Barry, if I were to guess one person.
Why would you say Barry?
I don't think Barry's going to die.
Why would you say Barry over Oliver?
I would either say Barry or Supergirl, actually. I wouldn't say Oliver. Because they are more powerful, number one. But I feel like, I don't know, because Barry in the comics is such a pivotal part of Crisis, I think he's really going to be that centerpiece. I don't know. I just get that feeling.
Don't underestimate Oliver, though. I guarantee he's got an anti-matter arrow in that quiver of his.
He's going to whip his ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, that, Flash's Supergirl are more powerful. But then I'm just thinking, Arrow is ending. They probably want to... And he's the one who basically started the Arrowverse. So I'm thinking
What's he going to do? Literally just shoot him, though?
Shoot both his eyes out and he's screwed.
I don't know. They'll come up with something ridiculous. This is the CW. They'll come up with something ridiculous.
They'll probably give Oliver some kind of superpower.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, something like that.
Gonna stab him with his arrow, like he did to everyone.
Like a super arrow. No.
Yeah.
But then
how Oliver died from Rachel Grove.
Or
when Oliver got stabbed by Rach.
Or what if Arrow is the one who gets the killing blow, but he takes the Anti-Monitor to wherever he's being kept?
Oh yeah.
That could happen.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, exactly.
That could happen.
That could happen. And that will eliminate the possibility of Anti-Monitor returning, because if Oliver can't return, so likewise Anti-Monitor can't return either. You never know. We have to wait and see. And speaking of Anti-Monitor, we also got our first look at Anti-Monitor no less than 24 hours ago at the time of recording this podcast. And to me, in my opinion, I don't know about you guys, but he looks like Thanos if he was approaching retirement age. That's how I see it.
I mean, he looks very generic. Monica Garrett's playing him, right? Yeah. I don't know. In comparison to the Monitor, I think the Monitor looks much cooler.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, he does look Thanos-esque. I did see. I don't know. Maybe it was you, Chris, who tweeted. I'm not too sure. Somebody tweeted just a quote from Infinity War saying, "I'm going to knock that nutsack of a chin right off your face."
I think that was Pagey.
And yeah, it fit perfectly.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm thinking he's more like a White Walker, and that's why I think he looks more like.
Yeah.
Yeah, To me, he doesn't. He doesn't even look anything like his comic book counterpart. Anyway,
He looks more like the new 52 version of the Anti-Monitor. If you've seen that.
actually, yeah. I saw a picture of that today. Actually, because I was trying to compare the two pictures I saw, but still, nah, I'm not really.
The Anti-Monitor in Crisis is a fat robot. Well, he looks like a robot.
Isn't he meant to be like huge, the Anti-Monitor though? Isn't he meant to be like massive?
Like Galactus man.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think he's gonna be as big because he's not that, robot-looking version of himself.
Because I remember, didn't they release concept art a while ago where they had like a little model next to it and showed how big he is?
Yeah, I think he's gonna be big, but I don't think he's gonna be that big. I think he'll be like a bit bigger than the Monitor, so like 10 foot tall or something.
Yeah, I'm not.
In Crisis, he's actually fat. Like he's humongous in the original Crisis.
Yeah, I guess.
So why don't they just get Ray to go big, sort him out?
Yeah.
Speaking of Ray going
Smack
big,
his ass.
speaking of Ray going big, he's only actually ever gone big, I think, twice, if I can remember correctly. He doesn't use that a lot for some reason, but it's very useful. I don't know. But obviously we know why, budget reasons.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That is exactly why.
But anyway, moving back to Arrow briefly, I just wanted to talk about Laurel's Black Canary for a minute. How do you feel about Laurel's Black Canary, especially after this episode?
Love it.
I really like him.
Yeah, I think I think this is my favorite version of Black Canary across all the canaries that we've had. Sarah's canary, the original Earth One, Laurel Lance's canary, Dinah Lance's canary. I think this is my favorite canary, and then Sarah Lance is a close second. And I think
I love the hairstyle. I love the costume.
Yeah. I think
I like the fact that it's Earth 2 Laurel. Like, I personally prefer Earth 2 Laurel to Earth 1 Laurel.
Yeah.
Just as a character.
Yeah, same.
Just because I like her personality more. I like the fact that she has a bit more of an edge to her.
I agree.
I find her a bit more interesting. I mean, I love Earth 1 Laurel, but I just prefer Earth 2 just a little bit more. And I love the fact that, like, when you first see the bunker, like, she's like the leader of this team on Earth 2.
Yeah.
And she has like all these, purple fluorescent lights all about, and it looks like the bunker on Earth 2 looked amazing.
Yeah.
And the fact that she's working obviously with Earth 2 Adrian Chase that was a cherry on the cake, really.
Yeah. It's kind of ironic as well because they were working together on Earth 1 as well in season 5.
Yeah, it's crazy how like she had such a bad experience with Adrian Chase the first time that she went back to him again.
Yeah. It's kind of fun. Maybe she didn't initially know he was Adrian Chase. Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah.
But yeah, I think that I love this new suit. I think this is the best Black Canary suit we have had. It's the closest one to the comics that we have had, certainly. So yeah, seeing this version of Laurel makes me excited for the Green Arrow and the Canary TV show. Speaking of that show, is that the title of the show?
Maybe.
Green Arrow and the Canaries.
Sure.
A bit long, but
it would be cool. Like, the thing is, I was behind at the end of last season, and like spoiler alert, I haven't watched a few episodes in the last season of Arrow.
What?
But I watched the premiere. Right, I felt like I could do that. I was like, I've watched some scenes from it. But then I saw Mia. Like, I haven't really seen Mia that much, but I really liked her in this episode. I don't know why people don't like her.
I like her.
Like, obviously, I haven't watched some episodes in the back half, but
yeah, I like her. I think she's good. But so I'm pretty much on board with the spin-off is it a spin-off?
it'd be cool.
Yeah, spin-off. Yeah, spin-off. Yeah, it'll be cool. And obviously we're gonna get Dinah as well. So the question is it going to be past? Is it going to be set in the present or the future? I think it's going to be set in the present because because we see Mia in Crisis. So obviously she's somehow come back to somehow she's time traveled to present day. So I think she's gonna stay in present day. But then again, would this version of Mia really leave that team behind, the future team, after what they're going through right now? Do you think?
Well,
I think maybe once she meets Oliver.
And also we didn't know what's going to happen in those flash forwards. Maybe they'll die. We don't know that.
It's true, we don't know, but that's a bit dark. I don't think they'll do that. But yeah, anyway, moving on to the final topic of today's podcast is Batwoman. The controversial Batwoman, I should say, because a lot of people don't like it. Now, first of all, do you out of the 2 episodes we've seen so far, do you like the show?
Okay, so I watched Batwoman at Comic-Con, and I watched it twice, and I really liked episode 1. Like, it wasn't, like, the best premiere. Like, I think Supergirl, The Flash, and Arrow had better premieres, but I thought it was a very solid premiere. Like, I really did like it. I watched it twice, so I could think about it. I actually haven't watched episode 2 yet. I plan on doing that later today.
I haven't either.
But that being said, I really, really did enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to watching these episodes. So I'm very much into it right now. And I think you said, Declan, in Elseworlds, you weren't so hot on like her, brief appearance. Like I really liked her in Elseworlds.
Oh yeah, I remember.
The time she was in.
Yeah, I remember.
And I have to say, I'm not a fan of Ruby Rose. Like, I don't like any of the films she's done before. Like, I haven't seen John Wick, number one, but like, I didn't like her before, so I was like, don't really like this casting. But I've been really impressed so far, so I'm looking forward to it.
Okay.
I mean, just to touch on Ruby Rose, like I was never a fan of the casting from day one, just because I felt like they cast her not because of her acting ability. They cast her because she is a big figure in the LGBTQ community, which is not a bad thing, but I felt they put that before the acting, which I think is the problem. And in this episode, like, I mean, I've not seen episode 2 either, because when I went to watch it on Tuesday, the website I used didn't have it up yet. But in Batwoman, she didn't impress me in Elseworlds, but in this episode, she was inconsistent, is the word I'd use to describe her, because there were some parts where she was very good. But there are other parts where she's honestly quite bad. And I think it comes down to how they're playing it, because there are if she's trying to play it really cocky, she's really good at that. She's really good at playing the character in a cocky, confident way. But anytime any emotion has to come into it, that's where the problem flies. Like, there's a scene where she has to get kind of angry, emotional, and it fell completely flat for me. But anyway, the episode as a whole and the show so far, I think it's fine. I think it's okay. I'm not in love with it. It hasn't grabbed me instantly like some of the other shows have. It might take me a little while. Like Legends took me a little while to get into it. Maybe Batwoman will be the same.
Really? I was so into Legends right at the start.
I think Legends Season 1 has a bit of a tonal issue, and that's what threw me off a little bit.
Season 1.
I really enjoyed Season 1 by the end, but it had a bit of a... I think Season 1 had the problem of, which all shows have, which is just to, like, finding its feet, and I think it didn't know what tone it wanted to go for.
Arrow didn't have that problem. Season 1.
Yeah, but, Batwoman, I think it's good on the whole. I have to say, I like the villain a lot. I think she's the standout. I think she's the best part of it. Rachel Scarston as Alice. I think she's very good. I'll tell you what I didn't like was the flashback scenes.
I thought they were shot weirdly.
Whoever decided to put that frame rate on it deserves to be fired.
I have to agree. It was shot weirdly, but I liked what was in the flashbacks, but I didn't like how they were filmed.
So when you say how they were filmed, what didn't you like about that?
It was the frame rate.
The frame rate and the colors were fine. Like you could tell it was a flashback, but yeah, it was the frame rate. I don't know why they did that. Like, yeah, it's stylistic. If you see like Saving Private Ryan, it really works. But there was no point in this. There's no real reason, and it was more jarring.
Yeah, it was stilted to the point where it was almost painful to watch. Like, I was sat there like I couldn't look at the screen because I was like, this is actually hurting my eyes.
Wow. I didn't
like it at all.
Yeah. For me, I didn't really actually notice anything like the frame rate or anything. I'm not really focusing on that kind of stuff, to be honest. I'm just focusing on what's actually happening.
To be fair, I'm not somebody who really focuses on stuff like that normally, but it was so distracting for me to the point where I was just like, it was like the main thing I took away from the episode. I was like, I don't know who made that decision, but it was terrible.
That's all you complain about.
Yeah, I made it very vocal.
Fair enough. Okay, so regarding my opinion on Batwoman, I liked episode 1. I think the pilot was okay. It was good. It was decent. I was interested, and then episode 2 came, and I think it's better than episode 1, but it's still not there yet. As like, this is a show that you must watch. It's just decent. That's how I'll describe it. It's decent, but episode 2, in my opinion, was better than episode 1. So yeah, watch episode 2, and then maybe next week, if you guys are on, we'll talk about episode 2 and episode 3 as well. But yeah, overall, I would say out of the premieres, out of all the premieres, I would say my favorite one was Arrow. This week's episodes, I'll probably say Arrow again was my favorite, and then Flash a close second, because Flash was very good as well.
And what about Supergirl? Oh no, you don't watch Supergirl, do you?
No, yeah, I do. I watch Supergirl.
You do?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, so
who told you?
What's your rankings then? Let's do your rankings.
Who told you I didn't watch Supergirl? Okay, so.
Or did you watch episode 1?
Yeah, I've watched both episodes of Supergirl this season.
Well, I thought you just said you didn't. Oh,
did I? No, I didn't. I didn't say that. Declan, did I say that?
Okay. My bad.
I'm caught. I've caught up with all the shows. Actually, speaking of catching up with all the shows, you know, Black Lightning. What season are we on now?
3.
Yeah, season 3. So Black Lightning season 2, obviously came out last year. What, October, around the same time as the other shows. I literally just finished it this week. Yeah.
I'm still on I just finished season 1. That's it.
You just finished season 1?
No, I finished season 1 when season 1 ended.
Oh yeah.
But I just didn't watch last season. I just wasn't really into it. I don't know.
Well, are you gonna go back to it?
Maybe, like.
I think season 2.
I'm more committed to like going back. I'm behind on Titans and I'm behind on Krypton. Like I want to do that first.
Oh, Titans this season. Titans season 2 is very good. Like I think. Of course, it has my favorite villain of all time, Deathstroke, of course. So obviously, anything Deathstroke, I will take. But yeah, this season of Titans is very good. You should definitely check it out. Regarding Black Lightning, season 2 was in my opinion, a big improvement on season 1. So I'm more into Black Lightning now than I was at the end of season 1. On Black Lightning, but it did take me a long time to finish Black Lightning though. It took me basically a whole year to finish Black Lightning.
I'm actually the reverse of you on that one, Chris. I really liked season 1, and I dropped off in season 2. I found season 2 extremely boring.
Really? How so?
I just couldn't get into the storyline. It felt like they did, because season 1 to me was very tight and focused. They had one central storyline and that was it. Season 2, I felt there was too much going on, and I couldn't quite get a nail on what the main plot was, like, or what they were trying to make the main plot. And it came across a bit messy to me, which is a shame. I do want to catch up with it because obviously we know Black Lightning is going to be in Crisis. But yeah, it's just I kind of dropped off in season 2. And then with regards to Titans, I really enjoyed Titans season 1. I'm waiting for it because Titans is a Netflix show here in the UK, so I'm just waiting for it to come to Netflix and then I'll watch it.
I got DC Universe.
What?
You got DC Universe? How?
Oh, Ben shot himself on the foot there.
Ben's really like.
Okay.
No, I actually pay for it though. I'll pay for it.
All
Ben's
right.
got mad hacks.
All right. Yeah. Tell me when we finished recording this, because I slightly want to get it because it seems a bit interesting. But yeah.
Ben has mad hacks confirmed.
But yeah. Anyway, I think you were saying where I would rank Supergirl in the rankings. Obviously 1, Arrow. 2, The Flash. 3, I would probably say Supergirl ahead of Batwoman, and Batwoman last. So that would be my ranking. Even though I still think.
Yeah, mine's exactly the same.
Yeah.
Mine's The Flash first, then Arrow, then Supergirl.
So have you watched episode 2 of Supergirl?
Yeah, I really liked it. I just think Arrow and The Flash were really good this week.
Oh yeah, same. Declan, did you watch episode 2 of Supergirl?
Oh, sorry. I did, yeah. I thought that I think Supergirl's been strong to start off.
Yeah.
I have enjoyed where Supergirl's going. I like the theme this year. I like what they're doing with that.
Wait, what is the theme?
I think it's interesting. It's technology, isn't it?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
about
yeah.
like technology.
Oh yeah, that's true.
There was one part of the episode where I was like, I don't know, like I felt like there was too much Lena monologuing in this episode.
Yeah, I still don't know
Felt
about the
like
idea of Lena being evil.
I think
False
it's
to me.
a bit silly.
I think what's happening with Lena is that she's obviously against Kara, so she's evil in that sense. She's an antagonist to Kara, but I don't think she will fully go full on Lex Luthor evil. I don't think. What do you think?
No,
For sure.
I don't either. But I just think it feels good, especially after the first episode where they had the perfect opportunity to resolve it all, and they've acted like they did, and then Lena's still just salty for kind of no reason.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine with them going with this storyline. Like, it was just that last episode, I felt like she was explaining and talking way too much about her plans and why she feels so, evil, why she hates humans and why she hates Kara and stuff. I just felt like maybe they went a bit too dialogue heavy on that. But then I loved the ending when Eve was revealed in that way to be joined with Hope. I really like that.
See, I'm confused a little bit with that because I get obviously the joint between Hope and Eve, but how's Leviathan coming into this?
Well, I think, they mentioned Leviathan in the episode.
Yeah.
When she was, like, basically trying to interrogate her as
Yeah.
to why she lied. That was one thing about the episode I didn't like. She was like, why'd you lie to me? No. And then she's getting pissed about that. But I think Leviathan is going to come in not till, like, the second half. Maybe we'll get a few teasers. I think it'll be, like, Red Daughter more so.
Right, okay.
But a bit more. Like, I think it's going to go into, like, full throttle after Crisis.
Who do you think's they're going to be the big bad for this season of Supergirl?
Leviathan, I think that will be the villain for sure.
Okay.
Because they teased that, and the first half of the season villain is definitely Malefic for now, and I think they're going to tease, obviously, Leviathan coming.
Okay, fair enough. All right. Anyway, that pretty much wraps up this week's podcast. I'm going to be coming back next week for another CW roundup. Thank you, Ben and Declan, for joining today.
No problem. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yep, no worries. Hopefully you can come again next week. We'll see. But yeah, anyway, I'll leave both of their channels in the description, the link to their channels in the description, so you can go and subscribe to their channels and check out their content. And if you like this kind of content, give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe, and we'll see you guys later for more podcasts.